Give it a few minutes to let people join in. Hello. Hi, everybody. How are you? It's been crazy. I feel like every time we check in, Jeff, I'm like, it's crazy. That's just our lives. It's just always crazy. But it's a little extra crazy right now because we are getting ready to go to Mexico next week for our art retreat. I can't believe that it's like finally almost here. I'm so excited. We've been doing a lot of like last minute preparations and stuff, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. But how's everybody doing in the chat? Say hi. Jeff, who's here? I don't have it up in front of me today, so.
No, I mean, we got a lot of people here. Andrea's here, Clay's here, Clara's here. We've got Sacramento is in the house, like down the street. Sacramento is in the house. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
95816.
Oh, man. We need to do a meetup.
Maria is here. Emily. We got Sam in the house. Mia's here. We got all kinds of people coming in as well. We've already got... Oh, Angeline's in from France.
Bonjour.
Ça va? Clara, or was Christina? Christina's here from Germany, which is awesome. It's sunny and bright still, 7 o'clock out there in the evening.
Awesome.
We got Pennsylvania, Florida, Palm Springs. Sweden just got here. Margarita from Sweden. We've got more. We've got the Netherlands in the house. Victoria from the UK is here.
Wow. Dang, you guys. You guys never cease to impress me with just how, like, we're just, like, all over the place and we all get to, I know, I say this every time, but I'm always so amazed. Like, we're all over the place and we get to come together and do art together, even though we're, like, at all corners of the world. It's really cool.
Cleopatra is here from Cyprus.
Wow.
We've got Peggy from Delaware. I love it, you guys.
Yeah, and speaking of around the world, we're doing a travel themed illustration today because Making Art Every Day this month, our theme is travel, which we decided to do because we're doing a big travel trip since we're going to Mexico to do our art retreat. And it's like, I don't know, like this whole year has just felt different than previous couple years. Where it's like, I'm like really excited to travel and it feels okay. And like, so we're like, me and Jeff are super into travel and we traveled a ton, pre-pandemic, pre-kids, but we still traveled a ton with our kids too. And we're just like, we haven't really since the pandemic. And so we're excited to like take them on some trips and stuff soon too.
And I'm excited about today. This is fun. We're going to learn,
We're going to do some... Well, I'll get into the lesson. I'll get into the lesson in a minute. I always like to do a little catch-up to kind of what's been going on with us in, Team Bardot. So like I was saying, like we've been full-on Mexico preparation mode, just getting all the last-minute things done, putting together some cool goodies for our attendees and like designing little printouts and I've made a fun little art print that I'm gonna give, which I don't know if I want to I like you guys to be, I want our attendees to be surprised.
I'm all surprise only.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to give anything away. But like, yes, cool things that I have planned and I will be sharing about everything, after it's already going on. So, but yeah, so we've been really busy and we're just like so excited. So. This is our first ever art retreat. I've taught live at conferences and, things like that before, but like never anything quite like this. And I'm just so excited to combine like my love of travel and exploring new places and my love of Mexico, which I love so dearly, is like the country and the culture and the colors and everything. And then my love of art and my love of teaching. And it's just like all these things that I love so much. And I get to bring them all together and share them with you guys. So I'm just like so excited. And another thing I'm excited about, Sam, hello to Sam. You guys all know Sam. She's like my right-hand gal and she's the community caretaker and she does a million things for this business. And I get to meet her in person, you guys. She's been working for me for, over a year and a half now, I think. I don't know, something like that, a while. And I've known her for many, many years online, but we've never met in person, and we get to meet on this retreat, and we're gonna have like slow motion hug in the airport. I'm sure of it. So that's all really exciting. And so the other cool bit of news on the, in that same vein of talking about retreats is, I think I've already mentioned this to you guys before, but we are planning our next art retreat. And this art retreat is going to be in France, which is like my other favorite country. And so we've been hard at work also planning that one and nailing down the curriculum. Like, I'm so excited about the curriculum. This France retreat is going to be even more like art immersive. Like the Mexico one, there's going to be a lot of like, exploring and taking in the culture and like, adventure and stuff like that. And there's going to be a bit of that at the France one, but like, it's more like it's a like art retreat. We're going to like spend a lot of time making art, a lot of classes, going out and venturing into like the cute little towns, and we're going to go see a castle, and we're going to make some art inspired by all that stuff. And oh my gosh. And like the whole theme for the France retreat is like play, embracing your childlike wonder, like kind of leaning into the fairy tale setting that we're going to be in, and just like embracing the like art child within, which I think like I love about kids is they just have no, they don't have the same inhibitions that we adults have when we're making art. They just create, and it's beautiful. And I think whenever I can get into that mindset, I make awesome stuff that I love. So that's kind of like the whole theme for this art retreat in France, which, big announcement, we are going to be like, I don't know how to say this. You guys are going to be the first to be able to book this new retreat, starting today. Yay! That was not a very good, that's a very anticlimactic announcement. I'm like, how do I say it? Make it sound cool. Yes, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
So what's awesome is I'm going to post the link right now just so you guys can take a quick peek. And we'll post about it later today in the group, so everyone live right now will just kind of get to see it first. What's really awesome is this is an all-inclusive trip. So once you get there, it is 7 nights of art, food, wine. Everything's included. There's no additional cost. This is just a trip to go and learn and explore and play. And what's awesome is there will be a lot of hands-on, and Lisa's going to be there, Sam's going to be there, I'll even be there. And so it's going to be a really cool, immersive trip in a very different way than what Oaxaca is going to be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to post the link right now.
Yeah, so you can check it out. We are partnering with a company called Uptrek, who does retreats. Like, they specialize in doing art retreats. And like they take care of all the logistics, all the venue, everything, so that I can focus on just the art aspect of it and the teaching aspect of it, and just making an amazing experience for you guys when it comes to that. So I'm really excited to be working with them, and they specialize in, Europe, and they also do trips to like Morocco and things like that. Whereas our partners for Oaxaca specialize in Latin America. So we're excited to be, working with multiple people and doing these cool retreats, which I'm sure they'll be, I don't know. I love it. So we'll probably do more. But this one is going to be in April 8th through 15th of 2024. So we have just under a year until that one. So plenty of time to think about if you can fit this in and make your plans. But we are so excited. It's going to be a really, really, really fun thing, like retreat. So yay. So go ahead and check out that link that Jeff's going to share. Like he said, we're going to be posting about it in the clubhouse. We'll do a post announcing the whole thing with the link there as well, so you can check it out. And you guys have first dibs. We are not going to be announcing this to anybody else for at least a week. Yeah, at least a week. So you guys are my VIPs. I was really just like so blown away that most of the people that are coming to Oaxaca are Art Makers Club members, and that just felt like so special. Like, you guys are my people, and I can't wait to meet you in person. I'm so excited. So it's going to be an emotional moment. I know. So that's all the news for today, which is a lot of like big news, but Cool. Well,
and a huge thank you to everybody who's pre-ordered the book.
Yes, the book. It's been go around here from literally like one thing to the next. But yes, thank you guys so much. Like the book is doing very well. The publishers are like very happy. I'm super happy with how the pre-sales are going. So thank you guys so much for pre-ordering the book. I just heard from my publisher, I'm going to be getting advanced copies very soon. So I'll be able to do a little flip through and show you what some of the inside pages look like and just share more about it. So thank you guys. I'm just so grateful. My life is like, I love my life and I love that I get to do all this really awesome stuff. And it's because of you guys like supporting me and showing up and investing, and like I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Oh, and Tanya was just saying that they're excited to get it in their hands.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so are we. So we may even have it in our hands, the first copy, by as early as possibly Friday or next week.
Maybe. Yeah, we're hoping to get it before we go to Mexico, but we'll see. All right. On that happy note, let's go ahead and get into our lesson for today. Welcome back, you guys, for another live tutorial. Today, we are going to be creating some travel-inspired postage stamps in Procreate. And I really love this project. A lot of our tutorials are kind of like follow-along tutorials, and this one will be too. But I think this is a really great project that you can take and totally make it your own, because there are so many different travel destinations that you can create. And, choose a place of your, a place that you like, and you can create a little like collection of stamps inspired by your favorite travel destinations. So it's a lot of fun. I'm going to be teaching you a lot of different steps in this one. So we're going to be talking about like getting inspiration, researching our location, sketching and ideation, kind of putting together a color palette. There's going to be even a little bit of brush making. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a little brush to help do these stamp edges. And then just like how to kind of simplify a subject for these little tiny postage stamps, which I think is I really love the concept of like simplification and like reducing things down into their like lowest forms, because you really get to focus on what's most essential in that subject. And this project is perfect for that because you're doing it on like a little postage stamp. So you kind of are forced to do that. And I really love that about it. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, I wanted to say that I have a little Pinterest board for you guys that I created, and we'll share a link in the chat. And I believe we have it in the event page right now, but I created a Pinterest board full of little postage stamps, illustrations. Some are real postage stamps, a lot of them are illustrations, just to kind of get you inspired at some of the like ideas that you can do, because a postage stamp is really just like a tiny piece of art. It could be literally anything, but you're working within that small form factor, so it can't be like crazy detailed, although stuff like this is still quite detailed. But I like to focus on like the simplification for this project. So you can check out this Pinterest board just to get a little bit of inspiration for what you might do. And then the next thing you would want to do is think about what location you want to do. So for today, I chose New York City for my destination. Sometimes it helps to do these really like famous, like well-known destinations, because there's a lot of references and there's a lot of really iconic things for those locations. Like if it was Paris, the Eiffel Tower, or like a croissant or whatever, but you could also do, if you want to do your hometown, and there's like little things about your hometown that are a little more maybe like an inside knowledge. That's also pretty cool too. So any place around the world you could pick to do this, but I'm going to be doing New York City. So let me go ahead and get into Procreate now. And I'm going to open up a new canvas and start off with some sketching and a little bit of research and like ideation. So we're going to go to our plus sign here, and I'm just going to work in the final size I'm going to be in, which is going to be a vertically oriented canvas. So I like to do 2800 by 3500 pixels. and I have a canvas template saved for that. But if you don't, you can go up to this little thing here, and you can type in that dimensions here. So that was 2800 by 3500 pixels. So let me go ahead and open that. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to my brushes, and I'm gonna go into my pencil box, which is one of my brush sets, and choose the sketching pencil. If you don't have pencil box, you can go to the built-in brushes, you go to the sketching set, and the HB pencil is a really great sketching brush. So either one, whatever you like to use for sketching. And then I'm just gonna get like a dark gray for my colors. Okay, so now you might have some things in mind that you want to draw for your location. For New York City, like so right now I'm kind of thinking about some of the things that I could do. So I've already gone through this process, so I have some things in my mind, but like the pretzel, like the street pretzel is the first thing that came to my mind. You could also do other street food like pizza, you know, the tall buildings, some of the famous skyscrapers, taxi cabs, very iconic, Statue of Liberty, the Big Apple. Like those are some of the things that like I thought of, but you can also like just Google like New York City things, or, you know, Paris things, or whatever your destination is, and like you'll come up with a lot of ideas. So for the sketching part, I'm gonna draw some like little rectangles, and this is meant to be very, very loose, and I can draw some of the things that I was thinking of. So like an apple, for example, I just draw kind of like an apple shape like that, and then a little leaf. And this is very loose and messy, and that's totally okay, but we're just kind of, in fact, I'm probably gonna do these even smaller. I'll just move that over. I'll draw maybe like a horizontally oriented one like that. And I could do the pretzel. So if you wanna do a pretzel, is kind of how I do pretzels. So if you start here at the bottom, kind of loop it around like that, and then go that way. And then you come around the other side, and then you loop it around that way like that. It's kind of a wonky pretzel, so sometimes it takes a couple tries. But again, this is just more about ideation, which is coming up with ideas. Not necessarily like, is this the final way that I'm going to draw it? Like that's like a stick figure of a pretzel. There's no dimension or anything, but it's an idea. And let's see, maybe I'll do the little taxi cab. I'll do like another horizontally oriented one. And now, you know, cars are tricky. Like I almost always have to like look at a reference photo when I'm drawing cars. So here's what I would do. Like I would go ahead and pull my dock up from the bottom, grab Safari here, and just drag it over to the side. So that way I have a browser over, and then I can type in NYC taxi. Pardon me, drink some water. And then I'll go to images. Okay. And let's see, I kind of like the like vintage style one, so maybe I'll even get more specific than that and type in like vintage, like the old school ones. Now, here's a good reference photo, this one right here. It doesn't show the whole car. If it showed the whole car, that'd probably be better. Now, you could draw this in, you know, try and get it as accurate as possible, but I think it's better to just really simplify it. So if I'm looking at this car, what I see first is this big, long rectangle here, and then like a smaller kind of rectangle on top, and then of course the wheels. So I'm gonna kind of just simplify that down by drawing the big rectangle, and then placing the next rectangle on top. Like I said, this is simplified, a very simplified version of it. And then you can also like round out some of these edges if you want. And then all the windows are kind of within this top rectangle. I'm gonna make my car kind of facing the other way maybe. And this one's kind of angled out, so maybe I'll angle that out just a little bit more, like that. Okay, so, whoops. And so now I'll draw some lines to kind of show the windshield, and then kind of break that in half for the other window. just kind of like making it up as I go. So that's, it's a very loose car shape kind of thing. And then the wheels would be, one wheel is like far forward. It's like not right under the windows at all. It's like under the engine. So maybe it would be out here. Maybe I'll move the top part. Maybe I'll resize it a little bit. I can go into my selection tool and just kind of select that. There we go. Make it a little bit smaller. I don't know. Playing around. And then the other wheel is kind of like under this window. So, and then the other thing that's like really iconic of these taxi cabs are these like checkers. So I'm just going to draw like a line, like a little stripe for that. And I'm just going to fill it with little lines. There we go. That's it for the checkers. And maybe like a little antenna like the old cars had. I don't have those anymore. And then of course, like the little thing that says taxi on top. So there's my little, there's my little rough taxi. And we can refine it, but we kind of want to just focus on like getting something down. So there's that. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more sketches because the other one I want to do are some skyscrapers. But specifically, I really love the Chrysler building. I think it's like really beautiful. So like if I can spell Chrysler, I'll look up a photo of that. I didn't even spell it right. That's all right. I really love the like curves and the triangles and stuff. So that's a really good reference photo. So I kind of want to focus on just the top part of this building. And again, I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to scooch this guy over here. So I'm going to do a vertically oriented stamp for that. Actually, I'm going to go even smaller. So I'll just quickly draw a little rectangle. And so again, we want to just like draw the basic form. So I'm just going to kind of draw like a rectangle like that with maybe like a triangle on top. So just the most basic parts of it. This part of it is a little bit bigger, so maybe I'll draw another bigger rectangle down there. And then now I'm going to draw this like round thing that comes up like that. And then we've got another round thing over the top, like another arch. And then there's like more of those kind of arch shapes on top. Got a little too tall, that's okay. So, whoops. So that's like kind of getting the gist of that. And then of course there's all these little like triangles in the middle, which we'll kind of just draw them loosely for now. And then some windows, like this kind of looks like this. There's like a line down the middle, and then I'll just draw some lines across like that. And then there's like little like rectangle windows, just a few. Like there's a lot in that, but I'm just gonna draw a few because that's gonna like give you the gist of that's what this building is. I might even like move this. I might even like crop it differently. Like I could crop it right there to show less of the bottom of the building. So I don't have to draw so many windows. I'll just like, whoops, erase this away or something. Yeah, something like that. And then I wanna have some buildings in the background so it looks more like a dense city or like an ode to a dense city. So I'm just gonna draw some little like rectangles here to be buildings, kind of like that. So those are like buildings. And you can add some little like windows. When I was little, I would draw skyscrapers, these little L-shaped windows. I don't know if everybody did that, but I feel like that was the thing to do. So I'll do little L-shaped windows. And then maybe some little like grids for windows there or some lines here. So they just kind of look like buildings-ish. That's kind of what we're going for, keeping it really, really loose. And I think that's pretty good. You can keep, when you're doing this on your own, like if you're going to do your own like stamp set of a location, you know, I would put down as many ideas as you can, as many little things as you can think of for your city, and just draw like these little sketches. And you might not end up doing them all for your stamp set, but you'll have like a lot of ideas to choose from when it comes to your final piece. Okay, so that's like the sketching phase. Let me check in and just see if we've had any questions or anything. Jeff, how are we doing?
We're doing great so far.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So once you've done a little bit of sketching, like you could come in here and like, you know, you could adjust your sketches and kind of like, I'm like beefing up this pretzel a little bit. But But we can also do that in the next phase too, so you don't have to do that. But the next thing that I want to do is think about the color palette, because if you're doing a collection of stamps, like it could be anything. Like you could do all the different colors that exist in the world of New York City. But I like to kind of parse it down to just a few colors to make a more cohesive overall piece. So we're going to be working with a limited color palette. So this is just one way to develop a color palette, and I'll kind of walk you through my process of that. I'll go ahead and close this for now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking at my piece and I'm kind of thinking of some of the like really iconic colors, or the colors I have to have. So I'm thinking of yellow because it's got to be yellow taxi. The big apple is always a red apple. I've always seen it as red, so I'm going to do red, I think, in the palette. I'll probably need some grays because I've got this building, and then the pretzel is kind of like a brownish color. So if I can try and incorporate at least those colors, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go up to my layers, and I'm going to tap the plus sign to create a new layer. And I'm going to use this layer to put my color palette on. So I'm also going to switch brushes. For this piece, I'm going to be using brushes from the bonus brushes. These are the ones that are included within your membership. So from here on out, that's what I'll be using for this piece. And I'm just going to choose the Loyal Liner brush, just because it's like a really simple basic brush to kind of plop some colors down. So I'm going to go into my color wheel now, and I'm just going to start thinking of those colors I want to do. So I'll start with like a nice bright yellow for my taxi. So I'll just choose that, and then I'm just going to draw a little circle kind of down here at the bottom like that. And let me also do like this pretzel color, which is going to be kind of I'll go into the oranges, and then kind of like a brownish, but still kind of like almost like a burnt orange color. So I'll draw that. And then let's see, what else did I say? The red apple. So now I'm going to choose a red color, and I kind of want to do like a nice bright red, but not like if I was here in the color wheel, this would be like a super saturated red. I'm just going to come in just a little bit so it's not so like intense. And then I'll put that down. And let's see, I know I'm going to need a little bit of green for the leaf. So I'll choose a green color. And this is where you can get a little creative. Like I could do a warm green like this. This is like a warm green. Or I can do a cool green, maybe something like that. And then I can look and see like which one I think goes better with the other colors. And I'm kind of leaning toward this like darker, cooler green. So I'll just like erase the other one. And let's see, we need a gray. So I'm just going to choose kind of a middle gray. I know it's going to be in the palette. And now I've kind of got the bases covered for like the main things that I need colors for. And now I want to kind of look at my palette and see what else like my artist heart thinks this palette needs. And I always love incorporating pink. So I'm going to choose a pink now. So I'm going to do somewhere here in between red and magenta, and maybe something kind of light like that. There. I think that balances nicely. And like one other thing that I like to do when I'm creating a palette is have like variations on a color. So let me actually put my pink right above the red. Like if I have a red in my palette, I also like to have either a lighter or a darker version of that color. So like having a red and a pink means that I have two values of that color. Like, and if I wanted to get this kind of greenish color, maybe I'll get like a lighter version of that, maybe a little bluer, because I might need actually a blue for my sky. So now I have a color that complements, that's like a lighter value as well. And see here, this yellow, I already have a darker version of it, which is kind of this brownish color. And then I'll probably just also grab a really dark gray, like a nice, not black, but like charcoal gray or something. because I know I'm going to need it for like the checkers, the tires, and probably all of my line work I'll do in this kind of darker color. So this is going to be the color palette that I'm going to use for my piece. I'm going to try as much as I can to just choose from these colors, and that's going to make my overall piece look much more cohesive. All right, checking in one more time just to see how everybody's doing with after our color talk. Doing good? All right. Okay, so probably the easiest thing to do is just to save all these colors into a color palette. So if you want to go up to your color picker, go over here to palettes, and then tap the plus sign in the like right below that, so right here, and then tap create new palette. Boop. And you'll get a new palette. And then I just like to switch back over to the disc mode. So just tap disc down here. And now I can start saving these colors. So I'm just gonna sample it with my finger and then tap into these little squares, grab the dark gray and tap there. Can't really see it. I'll do the yellow, put it there. I'll grab this brownish color, put it there. Let me put all the light colors on top. There we go. I'm just kind of tapping through the different colors and saving them into a palette. And you can also rename your palette, but you have to go back over here where it says palettes. I wish you could do it from right there. And then tap these three dots and choose, no, that's not how you do it. How do you do it? Maybe you can do it from there. Hold on. Let me see if no, you can't. I feel like you used to be able to do that. You just tap the name, and maybe I'll call this like NYC colors. Okay, we're good. All right, so now we have some sketches, we have a palette. We're ready to move on to creating the actual final artwork. So I'm gonna actually just turn this all off for now, and we're just gonna start fresh. So I'm gonna go up to my layers, I'm gonna tap the plus sign to create a new layer, and then I'm just gonna turn off these other two layers, just uncheck the little checkbox. So the first thing that I know I'm gonna need to do when I'm creating this stamp piece, my postage stamps are all gonna have white edges because that's just usually how they are. So I know I need to start with a colored background so that my white stamps have something to like actually show up on. So I'm gonna go up to my layers, I'm gonna go to background color, and I am going to choose a color for my background. I could choose any of these colors, but I think I wanna do the pink, and mostly because like in my artist brain, like pink is a neutral color. Most people probably don't believe that or wouldn't agree. But like, I think pink goes with everything and it's like a really good neutral color. So I'm gonna do pink for my background. And now we can start making our stamps. So in our brushes, we're gonna keep using the Loyal liner brush. And then we're gonna go over to our colors and just choose pure white value. I'm gonna double tap close to white to choose white as my color. And for this example today, I'm just gonna draw, I think 3 of the stamps that I sketched out for you guys. And then I'll kind of talk to you about some of the other stamps that I made previous to today. But let's see, I'll start with this, let's see, this one I think I'll do the taxi. So I'm gonna draw a rectangle like this, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Draw a rectangle and then go ahead and fill it in with color using color drop. And now we're gonna clean up the edges to make them nice and straight, and so we get nice crisp corners for our stamp. We're gonna do that with the eraser tool. So you can either tap and hold the eraser here, and that will choose Loyal liner as your eraser, or you can just tap into it and choose that brush, but let's choose Loyal liner as our eraser. And then we're just going to erase away the edges, but I would do this using the quick line feature because we want these edges to be as straight as possible, because that's gonna help us when we get to the next step of making the little like perforated edges. So just go ahead and draw a line across, but then keep your pencil on the screen, and that will snap to quick shape, and then just let go once it's straight. They don't have to be perfectly like perpendicular parallel. That doesn't matter too much, but they do need to be straight. So just draw a line and then hold your pencil down. There we go. And oops, I don't think I got that one quite right. I'll do it one more time. So you can see now my corners are starting to be nice and pointy. And I think I'll make this one a little less long. So just cut it off there.
Real quick, Lisa, can you go over how did the first part of making the color palette again?
Yeah. Let me just finish erasing that.
Of course.
There you go. Okay, so let me go back. Here, I'll just change that back to white real quick. Okay, so these are the colors that I've made. So if you wanted to make a palette, you'd go down, you'd open your color picker, go down here to palettes, and then you'd tap this plus sign here. It's like right in the upper right corner of the palettes like panel. And when you tap that, you can tap create new palette, and it will give you a new palette called Untitled. You can title it right now if you want. But then I like to always go back over to disc. So just so it's like down here. And then I'll just sample my colors and plop them in like that. You just sample it and put them in like that. Let me delete that. And I'll just go back. Oops. Okay. All right. So here's where we're at. I've made my rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and make my other two rectangles as well. So let me go back to the disc view, go back to white. I'm going to do one more like rectangular one here. So I'm just going to, again, draw a rectangle like that, fill it in, and then I'll just, I'll use quick shape to erase. I just want to do it by hand, but for this one, I want it to be straight. So use quick shape to erase the edges, clean it up a little bit. That one's pretty straight already. Okay. And then I'm going to do one more. Maybe I'm going to do it like, this one's going to be vertical. I'm going to move things over just a little bit. And then I'll do my vertical one. And I'm kind of just making them all like at an angle a little bit just to make it a little more interesting. Fill that in and then erase. When you're doing this erase and you're using a brush that's pressure sensitive, like if I were to do like vary my pressure while I'm drawing like that and then hold it down, I'm going to have a line that's not straight. So you kind of have to be aware of your pressure when you're doing this erasing mark. And then I also like to start way off because that also helps. Because often when you start a line, it's thin and then it gets, you press harder and it's thicker and then you get like a line that's kind of curved. So just something to be aware of. So I like start it way down there. Hold down for quick shape. This one's really tall and skinny. I'm gonna make it smaller. And then another thing with quick shape is you can also, once you hold it down, you can, let me do it one more time. Once you hold it down, you can let go and you can tap edit line up at the top and you can move it around. So if you wanted to get really precise about it, you can stretch it out too. So you can get that really straight part of your line. All right, so here we go. I've got my 3 little stamps on my page. How's everybody doing? Any questions? Are we all following along?
Sounds like we're doing great so far. Okay. But don't be afraid, you guys, if you do have questions.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of us doing it live and you being here live is you can ask questions and I can help you out. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, no, that's what we love about this time. Like, we did a live recently on YouTube, and it's really nice for us because they can be so different. We can be hyper-focused there and just do a project, whereas here, it's all about supporting you guys and taking a little extra time and making sure that we're all learning together. Yep,
absolutely. All right, so we've drawn the shapes of our stamp. Now we're going to make them actually look like stamps. Stamps have these like little perforated edges, which often just look like little like kind of circles cut out of the edge. And we could go through and use our eraser and do erase, 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 and like go around all of them and do that. But I thought it would be fun to teach you how to make a special brush that you can use to very quickly create your stamp edges. So we're going to be creating a custom brush right now. So we're going to go into our brushes, and you can see I already have one right here. Let me just delete that one. So I'm still in the bonus brushes. You can save this brush wherever you want, but I'm just going to put it here for now. So I'm in the bonus brushes, and I'm going to tap the plus sign. This plus sign is to create a new brush. So go ahead and tap that. And now we are in the brush studio, which contains hundreds, thousands of combinations of settings to like create a brush. We're not getting into any of that. We're doing a really, really simple one. So we want basically a brush that is like a bunch of circles that are spaced out. And so if we go here where it says shape, this is the shape source. So this is what makes the shape of the brush. By default, the default one is a circle. It's just like a plain circle, which is actually exactly what we need. So we don't need to change that at all. But we do need to space it out. So we're going to go up here to stroke path. And here where it says spacing, it's already at 17%. But if we drag that over, I'm at like 75% now. And you can see that, and you can actually draw here. You can see that now they're spaced out a little further apart, which is perfect for what we want to do. But there is a little problem. We can kind of see that like when you draw light, it's see-through. When you draw heavy, it's like fully opaque. So we need to eliminate that feature from this brush. We want it to just always be solid no matter how or always be opaque no matter how hard we're pressing with our Apple Pencil. So that setting can be found under Apple Pencil. So it's right here, Apple Pencil. And then it's this slider that says opacity. We're just gonna turn that all the way down. And now with that off, our brush will have no reaction to the pressure, the changes in pressure of our Apple Pencil, and it will just always be opaque. And then there is like one other setting that I like to do, and that would be under dynamics, That would be under dynamics here. And it's this size, under jitter, there's this size slider. And that varies the size of stamp to stamp. So if you turn that all the way up, like you'll see that like some of the circles are bigger than other, and it's random. So that's kind of what this jitter does, is it like randomizes the size of each individual stamp that makes up your brush. So I like my artwork to be a little irregular and not like super perfect. So I kind of want to just have some of these little circles a little bit bigger than others. You don't have to do this. If you want them to be like super perfect, you can just have that all the way down. But I'm at like 15%. So now some of them will be a little bit bigger than others, and it'll add a little bit of irregularity and imperfection to my piece. Okay, so that's all the settings that we have to set up for this brush. It's a super simple brush. The other thing we can do is give it a name. So if you go to about this brush, you can tap where it says untitled brush and delete that. And I think we can just call it stamp edges, or you can call it dot brush. It's also a good brush for making dotted lines, but I'll call it stamp edges. You can also, put your name in there and sign it and stuff. That's what I do for all my Bardo brushes, and I put my logo in there, but don't worry about that for now. Do you have any questions about making the brush before I continue on? Because I know going into Brush Studio can be a little bit intimidating for a lot of people.
It's crazy intimidating for some people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating for me.
Yeah, you go in here and there's tons of settings. You're like, what the heck? It's like you're speaking a foreign language, honestly. I'm even learning things about making brushes, and I've been making brushes for a long time.
Ever.
I don't know, 8 years or something like that. I'm like, what year was that? 16? I probably started making my own brushes. Cool. So no, you guys are doing good. You made your stamp edge brush. No questions, Jeff?
Yeah, we're doing good so far, it looks like. Winston Chemistry was saying it was really cool, but scary.
Try to keep it really simple. We only adjusted 3 things. So we did the stroke path. We adjusted the spacing. We went to Apple Pencil. We turned down this opacity slider, and then we went to dynamics, and we turned up the size jitter a little bit.
What's awesome, Christina was saying it was slow enough to find the corresponding menus in German.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a big deal. That's awesome.
I try to go slow for you guys.
Yeah, and I mean, as a quick aside, even, what's really cool, to a side note, is Lisa will be teaching brush making for the first time.
Yeah, I was
in depth.
As soon as I started taking you guys through this process, I was like, oh man, I forgot to mention that. But during the France retreat, one of the big things that we're going to be doing is I'm going to be teaching the attendees how to create their own Procreate brushes and taking them through the process of like making marks on paper with ink and then digitizing that and then turning them into pattern brushes and texture brushes and things like that. And I've never really taught that. I've done some like really minor brush making lessons, you know, stuff like this, but I've never done like full on brush making. So I'm like really excited to teach people how to make their own art making tools that are suited for their art. Because that's the beauty of making brushes is like if you have a specific need and you're like, oh, I wish I had a brush that did this, you can do that once you like master all these settings. And that's like a lot of the ones that I made for the club, like the Celestial Art Kit, like the block printing brushes. I wanted to teach you guys how to do those things and do that style of art. But I'm like, man, if I had a brush that did this, that would make it so much easier. And I can do that. That's like my superpower. Yeah. So like, I'm excited to teach that.
Yeah, what's crazy, I mean, it's going to be a 6+ hour day of brush making.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much work it is, right? Like to do this in-depth work with it, which is really exciting. So
yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I forgot to mention it. All right, cool. I think we're good on our brush. So,
and real quick, Christina just asked a good question. What about the brush size? Are we staying with the defaults?
Yeah. So she's talking about here under properties. You can change the maximum size of your brush. Right now, it's at 100%, and I think that's going to be fine for our purposes. This is something that you can adjust. I'll show you what size it is once we get into it and if we want to adjust that. But when I was preparing this lesson, it wasn't needed. So I think we're good. Okay. All right. So we're all done with our brush. Let's go ahead and tap done. And now we have our stamp edge brush. And we're actually going to be using this with the eraser tool. So we're going to tap and hold the eraser tool. And that's going to choose stamp edges as our eraser. You can just tap in and choose it. And I'll start with this one here. And I'm just going to erase over just to kind of get an idea of how big it is right now. Like that scale seems too big for me. So I'm going to just reduce the brush size a little bit. And that's probably a little too small. Christina, you were asking about like if you need to adjust the maximum size. Like the maximum size right now is this big. So I think we're good. Like we don't need to adjust that. So anyways, let me try this size. Maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, I think that's good. I am at 29% for my brush. So now we're going to go ahead and undo whatever you've done. I like to do this erasing using the quick line or quick shape feature. So I'm going to start here. Now my pencil has the hover. I have like the Apple Pencil hover feature. So I get a nice little preview of where my eraser marks are going to go. But if you don't, a handy tool is to turn on your brush cursor, which is here under Actions menu, Prefs, and there's like brush cursor, and that'll give you like a little, it'll show you your cursor as you're going, but I have the little hover thing. So you kind of want to start like right here, and then you draw a line to where you want the end to be, and then you hold your pencil down so you can enable a quick shape, quick line, and then you can move it into position. And you can also tap edit line up at the top, and you can adjust and put it where you want it to be. So you just want like half of the circle erased away from the edges. I'll do that a couple more times so you'll get to see me do that again. So now I'll go to this one, and I'm gonna start here. Oops. Tap back to the eraser, make sure you're on the eraser. I'm gonna start here, draw across, hold my pencil down so that I can enable quick shape, and then put it down where I want it to be. And if I need to, I can tap edit line, and I can adjust and move it. Okay, I'll do that again. And see, like that one didn't line up perfectly, like I'm kind of going over the edge, so that's why it's good. You can just like adjust. And they're not, here, let me edit. Now, see, in this, I'm getting like, this is too close to the edge. So since I tapped edit, I can, whoops, I didn't, got out of that first. Okay, let me do it one more time. There we go. Oh, Made it quadrilateral. That's weird, but it works. All right, let me do one more on this. Tap over to the eraser. I always tap, like, to get out of quick shape, I always tap the brush, so, you know. Tap edit up at the top. There we go. Cool. All right, and I've got a cute little stamp there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for all the others. So I'm just gonna erase. I'm gonna do that one more time. So because we're using quick shape, like from side to side, they're not gonna all be like uniformly spaced because, you know, when you do quick shape, the longer you make your line, the farther they're spaced out. If you make them close together, they're close together, which is actually kind of cool. If you wanna do like a little scalloped edge on something, you could do that. But that's okay. Like I said, I kind of lean into the imperfections and I don't want things to be perfectly perfect. Like those are more spaced out than these, but it's fine. So go around all your edges and make them look like stamps. And this is also a reason why I had you guys make your edges of your stamp straight or your rectangle straight, because if they were kind of like wonky and wavy, like the dots wouldn't line up with them very well. Oops. Okay, just almost done here. Yeah, like I was saying, this is what I love about brushes. Like, this is a lot faster to me than going around and like trying to erase away individual little circles. So it's cool that I can be like, oh, I wish I had a brush that did that, and I can do that. Okay.
1 second, Lisa. I think we maybe... The stream might have gone out for a second.
Okay.
Looks like we're good now.
Okay. All right. I think we had a little technical snafu, but I think we're back. Okay, so I've gone around all my edges and erased away to create these little stamps. And now I'm ready to, actually, and now I am going to, I'm trying to decide if I want it, what step I want to do next. I want to make these a little more textured just to give them more of an irregular feel and not so flat. So what I did for, you know, if you guys saw the thumbnail and like my example artwork is I texturized the edges of my stamp a little bit using the eraser brush. So we're going to erase away a little more again. I'm going to zoom in on this stamp. I'm going to go into my eraser tool now, and I'm going to find the composition notebook brush. Again, this is in our bonus brushes. So find composition notebook, and I'm going to use this brush to texture the edges just even more, okay? I want them to have more personality. My brush size is at 65%. And the cool thing about composition notebook, about this brush, is like if you erase really lightly, like you get really small marks, but if you erase really heavy, you get really big marks. So you can kind of control the scale of this grain of this brush with a little bit of pressure. So I'm just gonna go along the edges like that and just erase a little bit away, just to give it just a little of like kind of like distressing, like that. If I were to press heavy, it would do something like that, which is probably too much. If I went really light, you know, the pattern would be really small, which actually doesn't look that bad. So I'm gonna go around and just erase a little bit away so that it looks something like that. So go ahead and do that for all the stamps. You don't want to erase too much away, just enough so it looks a little distressed. This brush is actually really fun. I like that I always find new ways to use these brushes. I made these bonus brushes for you guys. Just like I put this set together using like a bunch of brushes that I made that were like really fun, but they didn't fit in with any of my Bardo brush sets. And so it's kind of just like a random assortment of stuff, but I'm always like finding fun ways to use them, you know, in putting together tutorials for you guys. So this brush is really cool for that, distressing. All right, that's what our stamp should look like now. They're a little bit distressed. They've got the little perforated edges. Now we're ready to create the artwork that's actually gonna go on the stamp. How we doing, Jeff?
We are doing wonderful so far.
Awesome, okay. All right. So let's go into our layers, and we're going to create a new layer. Tap the plus sign to create a new layer. And all of our stamps are going to have like a little frame within them. That's going to be like the frame that holds the artwork, so to speak. So that's what this layer is going to be. I'm going to go over to my brushes really quick, and I'm going to switch back to the Loyal Liner brush. And now I'm going to think about what colors or what, actually, you know what? It might be easier to... Actually, I'm not going to worry about color yet. I'm just going to grab any random old color. I'm just going to grab green for now. And I'm going to create the frames, and then we'll colorize them afterwards. So to do that, we're just going to like essentially just trace over. It can be really messy and sloppy like that. That is totally fine. Like that is great. And then fill it in with color, because we're going to use our eraser tool to refine that shape. Love the eraser tool. Grab your eraser. We're going to switch back over to Loyal Liner. And now we're going to erase away using Quick Shape, or you don't have to use Quick Shape for this. Like if you want to freehand it and just kind of do something like that, or you can use Quick Shape to do it. It's up to you, but we're going to just erase away enough to create this kind of like frame. I kind of like them to be a little irregular. Okay. Okay, so erase enough away so that there's like a little border of like the white stamp part, and you have a little frame inside. And so we're gonna go around and do that for all the, excuse me, we're gonna go around and do that for all the other stamps. I'm just gonna draw a little square over the top, fill it in, and then start erasing. Oops. Okay, looking pretty good. All right, last one. Oops. Whoa. Oh no, my Procreate freaked out. Ah, it's frozen. Oh, no, I don't know what it's doing. All right, this is how to quit Procreate if it like starts to freak out like mine is. You just swipe up from the bottom, all the way up actually, until you get to this view, and then just swipe it away. And then you can tap it, open it up again. Okay, here we go. Back in business. Sometimes that stuff happens. Let me try that one again. There we go. So go ahead and make all your little rectangles. Actually, that side looks good. And one more. Make this one a little smaller. Okay. All right. So now we've got all of our rectangles, and I will colorize these, but first I want to place my sketches.
Is that locked?
Is what?
You want to lock that real quick for me?
Sorry, one sec, guys. Like that?
Sure.
What's wrong?
It just keeps focusing.
Oh.
Focus lock's not on.
Got it. Okay, it should be good. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've added our little rectangles. Now we want to place in our sketches or re-sketch, whatever you prefer. But you can always just go back to your sketches and like, let's see, I'm just gonna go to my layers. I'm gonna just duplicate this. So I'm just gonna swipe to the left and choose duplicate. I'm gonna keep this one, my original. I'm just gonna keep it so I have it. And then I'm gonna move the other one to the top. So I have a duplicate copy. And now I'm going to rearrange these. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete the apple. So I'll just circle around it like that with my selection tool. And then you can do a 3-finger scrub motion to clear it out, or you can go up to your layers and you can tap the layer and choose clear. And now I'm just gonna reposition these with the selection and transform tools. I'll do that slower. You go up to the selection tool, draw a circle around it. You know what though? Hold on. Sam taught me this, so I have to show you because I just thought of it. If you want to delete something off your canvas faster, I always forget to do this, but she taught me. Draw a selection around it like this, and then tap the little gray circle, and then go to your transform tool, and then just drag it off. She taught me that one time. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Anyways, now you have a little tip from Sam. Okay. So I'm going to draw a selection, and then I'm going to use the transform tool to just kind of like put it into position where I want it to be. You could also just redraw it, and that's probably what I would do, but to save time, I'm just going to reposition these. I think it's always good to like redraw something more than once, so that way you can just really like process it through your art brain and make it look the way you want it to look. But I'll just place these for now. I might redo this car. Okay. And let's place that. I'm not really worried about the frame. I'm more worried about the position of the car. Okay. And then I'm just going to reduce the opacity of that layer as well. So I'm going to go to my layers, tap the little N, reduce the opacity. About 14%. Okay. Everybody following along okay for that part? All right. Drink of water. Okay. I'll start up here with my pretzel. So now I'm going to start thinking about colors. So I know my pretzel is going to be that like brownish color. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Tap the plus sign to create a new layer. And actually I want this layer to be right above this like rectangle frame, like the one with the colored rectangles. So I'm just gonna drag it down so it's like right above that rectangle layer. And all of my artwork I'm gonna do as clipping masks that are clipped to these rectangles. So even if I draw like outside of the rectangle, it'll still be within that rectangle. So I'm gonna tap this new layer I just made and choose clipping mask, and you'll see a little arrow come down. That means whatever I draw on this layer will only show up within these rectangles. All right, so let's go ahead and get my color. I'm gonna do that brown. And pretzels are really easy because it's like essentially like a little snake. You can just make your brush size a little bit bigger, as thick, well that's probably too big. Just make your brush size like as thick as you want the pretzel to be. And then you just like draw it like that. So something like that. I'm gonna do it one more time. Let's see. There we go. It's a little irregular, but that's fine. One side's bigger than the other. That's all right. So that's the whole thing. That's it. Super simple. You don't want to like, when we're going through and coloring these, we want to like be as simple as possible. Like the shapes are going to be very like loose. And we're going to kind of lean into the line work, like the final line work, to create all the like details and dimension and stuff like that. But we're just trying to keep it really simple. So that's it for the pretzel. I can also think about the background color that might go good with that. Like I know it's going to be yellow. I know it's going to be gray, and this background is going to be like probably like a blue, like a sky blue. I'm not sure what the background of the taxi cab is going to be, but I'll come back to that. So I'm going to tap back to my rectangle layer in the layers panel and then go to my colors, and you can just like tap a color and drag it in and see if you like how it looks. I don't like that. You can tap like that's not bad, but I think I'm gonna do a yellow because it's like they're both warm colors, and like those two colors, like those are the different values of that color. So I think that looks really good. So I just kind of drag the yellow in, and now I have a yellow background. Super simple. All right, let's do the buildings. I think those are actually easier, and then we'll do the taxi last. So let's switch back to now our clipping mask layer. So go to your layers, the one with the pretzel on it, and we're gonna tap on that layer. And I'm gonna select my gray color. And now I'm just going to, again, this is like a really cruddy sketch. It's not detailed, and that's okay. We are just going to kind of trace over this, not even like super perfect, and just fill that in with color. And so I'm just kind of like making it up as I go here. So there, that's my like Chrysler building. And then I'll draw this like pointed thing at the top. There. And then I know I had this like bigger bit down here. There we go. Very, very loose. All the details to this building are going to be done with line work. So don't worry too much about making it super perfect. But I am going to add these like buildings in the background. So I'm not quite sure what color I want to do them. So maybe I'll just I'll set my background color first, and that'll help me figure out what color I want to make these other buildings. So let's go to our layer with the rectangles, and then we'll go to our color palette. And this is probably the closest I have to a sky blue, which actually that looks pretty nice. So I think I'll do that. But I kind of want this, like this gray. There's not a lot of contrast between the gray and the background. They're the same value. So I think I'll make this gray darker. And for these background buildings, I'll make those this lighter gray, because that's totally fine if there's no contrast and those kind of blend into the background. I want that because they're just like background elements, but I want this building to stand out. So I'm going to make it a little darker, and then I'll make these buildings this color. Just like explaining my color thought process. So let me go back to the layer with the skyscraper and the pretzel. I'll just sample this color, and then I'm going to go and just make it a little bit darker. Like this gray I had chose was very arbitrary anyway, so you don't have to be married to it. And so I just made it a little bit darker, and then I filled it with color drop, and now the building has a lot more contrast against the sky. I mean, maybe a little bit too much. You can kind of like play around and see how dark you want something to be, but I think that looks nice. So I can see the building, it really stands out a lot more. Now I want the like lighter colored buildings, I want them to be on a layer behind my skyscraper. So I'm gonna tap the rectangle layer, and then if I tap the plus sign to create a new layer, it's gonna be between this layer and the clipping mask, so it will also become a clipping mask. If you add layers in between like a clipping mask, they'll also become clipping masks, which is exactly what we want. So now I can go to my colors, choose that gray that I know will work well for these, and I'll just draw these buildings as like one. I'm on the wrong layer. Hold on. There we go. I need to be on the layer that I just made in between. Okay, and then I'll just draw these shapes and color them in as all is one big shape. Great. Cool. Okay. So that's all the like coloring we're gonna do for that before we do line work. And now we can work on our taxi, which is there's gonna be a little bit more involved, but we're gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. So let's start with the layer that has the pretzel and the Chrysler building on it. So go ahead and tap over that layer. Let me check in, make sure we don't have questions. I always wanna check in when I think I'm going too fast. Okay, so we know we want our taxi to be yellow, so let's just go ahead and choose yellow as our color. And I want to make this taxi with like simple, very simple shapes. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just kind of draw this part, and then I'll draw there. I'm making it a little bit bigger than I need it to be, because I'm gonna use the eraser tool to clean it up a little bit. So make sure, you have the loyal liner as your eraser, and then that way you have these nice pointed edges for your taxi. There you go, something like that. And I also like curved the edges a little bit more. This is a very simplified car, not accurate. And then for the like the top part of the car, I'm gonna have windows. So all I need is like the lines that kind of make up the rest of it. So let's see. Okay. I'm gonna do this. I'm trying to decide. In my original one, I had a line that went all the way like this, but like the windshield would be there. So actually maybe I'll do it differently. I'm gonna do that. And then draw a line down there. There we go. And then I'll put the windshield right there. There we go. And you can make, like, I'm making a very like kind of cartoonish style. So these windows are giant, but that's okay because we're having fun with it. And then the windshield will be there. So I'm going to put the like windows, I'm going to do in like a light blue. So I'm going to go up to my layers and I'll just choose this other layer that I had already made that I use for these like background buildings on this stamp. And I'll do the like window glass there. Now, here's where you can kind of deviate a little bit from your color palette. So far, I've just been using these colors, and I don't think this color, I mean, actually, that is not bad. Okay, I take it back. I didn't think this color would work that well for a window, but it does. So I'm gonna go to my colors. I'm gonna choose that lighter blue. The more you can stick to your palette and just reuse the same colors over and over again, the better it's gonna look. But if you need to deviate a little bit, it's okay. So I'll just choose that blue color from my palette. And then I'm just gonna color in these windows. Color in this window. And then this is gonna be like the windshield. I think that's how it would look. Yeah, maybe. It looks like a car, right? Cool. Okay. Let's go back to the car layer now, and we are going to add the tires. So I'm going to tap back over to layer with the car, and I'm going to use my eraser tool to kind of erase the wheel well, like where the wheels would be on the car, like that. And then I'm going to go back to the layer below that and place the actual wheels. So I'll use that like dark charcoaly gray that I had put in my palette because that'll be perfect for wheels. And I'll just draw those in. It's like little circles like that. Actually, I think they'd be cuter if they'll be like a little smaller. There we go. Cute. And then I'll get that lighter gray and I'll just add like a circle in the middle of it for the like hubcaps. Okay. Other details we need to do are the this thing. And I'm going to do that in white. So I'm just going to choose white and just add that little sign that's on the top of the taxi. And then we also have the antenna, but I'm gonna do that in line like with my liner brush. So the last thing we need to do here is this little checkerboard thing, and I've got a little trick for that that I'll teach you. So basically, I know I need this checkerboard to be like clipped inside the shape of the taxi, but I can't because I have clipping masks already. So bear with me. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to tap back over to my taxi, like the one with the taxi, the yellow shape. I'm going to tap that layer and I'm going to choose select. Okay, so now I've selected all the shapes that are on that layer. And if I tap over to this new layer that I made, I can now fill that shape. No, that's not what I meant to do. I tap back over to this layer that I just made, and I'm going to draw the like stripe where the checkers are gonna go. So like that. And now it's within that shape, even though it's not like a clipping mask. That's kind of like a way that you can do something like a clipping mask without it actually being clipping mask, is like make a selection and draw within that selection. Okay, so now we have this shape so that we can make our checkers. All right, and now I'm actually gonna make a clipping mask on that. All right, if you guys are getting confused, let me know and I'll try to explain it as best I can. But we made that little shape of that stripe where the checkers are gonna go. And now I'm going to tap the plus sign, and I'm going to tap this new layer and choose clipping mask. For this is going to be where the black bits are going to go. And I'll show you my little trick for that. Okay, so now I'm going to choose my dark gray color. And let's see. Trying to remember the best way to do this. So I'm going to draw 2 stripes in here. One kind of like that at the top, and then one at the bottom. So we have kind of like 3 stripes now, one that's white and one that is, or 2 that are black. So that's on the clipping mask. The black is on the clipping mask. Okay. Now this is a little trick to make a quick checkerboard. We're going to go to the selection tool, and you're basically going to like draw a selection that looks kind of like this. You're kind of like making, I don't know how to describe this, but we're kind of like making a, here, I'll zoom way in. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going like this, going across, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And we're going to do that all the way across. And the width of these like little stripes that we're selecting are approximately like the width of our stripes, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just like going for it. Doesn't have to be perfect. They're all a little irregular, but that gives it more character. Okay, and when you get to the end, just circle all the way back to the beginning and close your selection. Okay?
So what are we selecting on again?
Okay, so we are on the layer with the black stripes. And we just went through and did that whole, I'll do it one more time. So I'm going to selection tool, I'm on freehand selection, and I'm just going up, over, down, up, over, down, up, over, down. Up, down, over, up, over, down. I feel like it's more confusing when I say it out loud. So just like go down, go over a little bit, go back up, go over a little bit, down. So essentially what we're doing when we're doing this is like we're selecting like little stripes of the black layer. And then when you get to the end, you've done it all the way across, you just like circle back around and close your selection by tapping the gray thing. I'll show you why we did that now. So you go to your selection tool, and then you can just move it down like that. Magic checkers. So we selected little stripes out of those lines, and then we just moved that selection down so that it's now filling in the middle space, and you made checkers. I'll move it one more time so you can see. So I have made my selection. Now I'm just moving it down, and now I've got checkers. And they're not perfect, but they're perfectly imperfect. All right, let me know if you need me to re-explain that because it's a little confusing. It's like really simple once you get it, but it can be a little it's confusing to explain. I'm gonna drink some water just so you have time to ask questions if you need to. Cool. All right, we are getting almost to the end here, you guys. So yeah, that's my little checker trick. It's very fast. Okay, so we have gone through and we've laid down all the colors of the main shapes of everything. Now it's time to just add a little bit of line work to give this, add all the details and things like that. And like with the whole theme of this is to keep it simple. I didn't end up changing the background of my taxi. I think this like blue actually works really well. Actually, this isn't from my palette. It's just that random color that I chose. So you might want to choose a color for your taxi background. I'll try this dark one. I kind of like a lighter one. Let me just choose a color that I like. I'll choose maybe a little. And it's okay. Like I said, we're kind of going off the palette for this color, but it's still within the same vein of like this teal and this kind of like aqua color. It's kind of in the middle, so it works. There. So choose a color for the background of your taxi that you like. And now we're ready to do our line work. So let's go up to our layers, and we're just gonna create a layer above everything else. Tap the plus sign, and we're gonna create a new layer, and we're gonna use this one layer for all of our line work. I still have my sketch turned on because I still wanna use it. You know, I need it to kind of reference where I want these lines to go. But let's start with this pretzel. Go to your colors, and we're gonna choose that dark brown, or dark gray color for all of the line work. I'm just gonna do it all in black or this dark gray to kind of keep it cohesive. So I'm gonna go over to my brushes, and you wanna choose, I like a liner brush that has a bit of texture. If we're choosing from the ones in the bonus brushes, I think the chalky grain liner is a good choice. So I'm gonna choose that one, chalky grain liner. And here, I just kind of want to give some dimension, like where the pretzel pieces like overlap each other. So you kind of have to like really visualize a pretzel, or you can look up a picture. But I'm going to like draw a line. Oh, sorry. My brush size is at 7%. I have it pretty small. Okay. 7%. So just kind of draw a line to separate there. Like this piece is going over that piece. And then this piece would be going over that piece. So I'm going to draw lines here, kind of like that. You see it? And then also a little bit of separation there and there, because it's going over the top of like the back pretzel piece. So I'm only adding lines where I need to show contrast, like these two colors blend into each other. I don't need lines here. You can do it if you want to, but there's enough contrast between the yellow and the brown where you don't need a line there. So I'm not. That's kind of how I choose where to, you know, how to put my lines. And then I'm going to also do the little salt pieces in this black color just to keep it stylistically the same. You could do them in white because, you know, this salt is white, but I'm just going to keep them black. And that's just a style choice. So I just added like lots of little marks for what would be salt. Okay, so that's it for the pretzel. Super simple. Let's do the buildings down here on the same layer. So same thing, like I don't need to outline the whole building like that because I have contrast between these two colors. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of add a line to show the definition between these two shapes, like that. And maybe I need one up there. I don't know. If I had a reference, that would help. And then I'll, actually, let me pull up my reference because I just want to, actually, no, I'm going to go off of what I sketched because this is like, the sketch, like you can look to the reference if you want it to be more accurate, but like when you sketch it, it's like already gone through your brain and come out the other side. And I think it's better to just sometimes go with that. Like I decided to have a line here. And there's that there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'll draw these little rectangle windows a little more neatly than I had done in my sketch. And then I'll do some more windows here. The line down here and then like go across like that. And then these little like triangles things. There's the Chrysler building. And then these buildings back here, I'm just gonna like draw a line to separate them out. I think I'll go all the way down for that. A line to separate that one. The little windows, you can add more if you want. Than you had done in the sketch. And this one, I'll just do some little kind of grid there. And then, I don't know, maybe some little lines right there. Just kind of make them look like buildings. We'll do some stripes on that one. So there we go. That's all you need. That's it. Very, very simple. And then finally, I'll do my taxi cab. There's not a ton of details for this one. But maybe I'll separate the doors, you know, like that. That's like where the door would open. So I'll just draw some lines down. I'll draw like a little I had looked up some reference photos of taxis to kind of get these details. Now I'm going off of memory because I've already done it before. But, you know, like a little logo or something, like a little circle, that could be a logo. And then like a little rectangle can be like the thing that says what the fare is for the taxi. So just like little details that will give it more personality based on something you observe in your references. The little antenna. This thing, I'll just draw a couple lines just to kind of show that that's a sign. And then maybe like hubcap, like, I don't know, details on the hubcaps. There we go. And that's pretty much it. Like, that's all that I really need to add as far as details on the taxi. And at this point now, I can turn off my sketch. So I'll just uncheck that. And I could take a peek. It's always good to turn off your sketch and just make sure, like, if you need contrast anywhere, you can add it in. But I think this is looking pretty good. Maybe I'll just make that line go down. Sometimes the sketch can skew your visualization of what's happening because it, you know, sketch makes lines and gives contrast. So it's good to turn it off and check. And then the other little detail that I need to add to my stamps is, of course, like the postage, like the little money, like how much the stamp is worth. So you can go to your little stamps and add a number, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be accurate. I'll do like, I don't have a lot of room on this one. That's okay. I'll just squeeze it in. 29 cents. It doesn't fit. All right, try one more time. 29 cents. Okay, there we go. That fits. This one, I could do it in black or I could do it in white. Let me grab white and I'll do 49 cents. I don't even know how much stamps cost anymore. Probably like, I'm going to guess 54 cents. Jeff, look up how much a stamp costs nowadays. I haven't bought a stamp in ages.
Forever on there is the answer.
I'm going to do that on this one. This one's going to say forever. Always got to buy the forever stamps. Doesn't matter if postage goes up. Forever.
Oh, dang.
How much are they now?
It's going up. It just went up. There's 63 cents.
Oh, wow. I was off.
The price increases is going up to 66.
Dang. Okay.
If approved, that'll be July. So 63 cents.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've got stamps like this was a 44-cent stamp. I have like a bunch of stamps. I used to, you know, you guys, I've mentioned that I used to do wedding stationery and I was like full service. This is all my like mini stamps that I have. I was full service. So I also assembled, stamped, and mailed the invitation as well. So I would always love getting to pick out the different stamps and like ordering cute stamps from the post office. But yeah, this is like a cutout from the back of the postage, but these are probably my like favorites. These little king and queen ones are so cute. Okay, so sidetracked about talking about stamp prices. We have a couple last little things that I think we can do to this piece to just kind of like elevate it a little bit more. Like this is adorable. This is cute. We've got a little bit of texture on our stamp edges, like that little bit of distressing, which helps give it personality. Like if we didn't have that, it would look pretty flat. Like overall, it's very flat, like these flat, solid colors. The background is flat, solid color. So I'm going to show you a way to just add a little bit of texture just to give it a little oomph. So let's go up to our layers and I want to add texture over the entire stamp shape. And I'm going to do that using a blend mode. So we can't unfortunately use a clipping mask to do this because we have like we would need it clipped to the stamp shape and that's like a bunch of layers away and like we can't do that. So let's use a layer mask to do that instead. It's very similar to the little trick we did with the checker stripe. So let's go to our stamp layer, like the actual stamp shape. We're going to tap that and we're going to choose select. And then we're going to go up to, we're just going to create a layer above everything else. So tap the plus sign, create a layer above everything else. We should still have our selection going. And then we're going to tap this and we're going to choose mask. Okay. And then we can deselect. So now we have a mask in the shape of the stamps. So this is kind of like a clipping mask, but it's more customizable. Whatever we draw on this layer here, it will only show up within, like, based on this mask and the shapes that are in that mask, which we used a selection of the stamp shapes to create that mask. Layer masks can be a little tricky and confusing, but they're super duper handy. So maybe I'll just repeat that process one more time because it was a little confusing. So we're gonna select the stamp layer. Oops, deselect. Okay, select the stamp layer, tap it, and choose select. Then we're gonna go to our layers, tap the plus sign, create a new layer. And on this new layer, you're gonna tap it and choose mask, and then you can deselect. And now we can use this layer for all of our shading, or not shading, but like texture. I'm gonna use a blend mode to add texture. If you haven't done the Kickstart Your Creativity course, like that one is really good for learning about blend modes. But let's tap the little N right here, and we're gonna choose multiply from the blend mode, or from the list. And then for our color, I'm gonna go into like I'll do some warm colors. So I'm over here in kind of orange. And then I just want like a light, almost like a creamy color. We can experiment with colors and see what looks good, but I'm gonna do kind of like a creamy color. And then for the brush, I think the Snazzy Jazzy brush is actually a really great brush for adding kind of like a little bit of subtle texture. So choose Snazzy Jazzy. And now I'm just gonna zoom in on the stamp, and this maybe a little smaller. I'm at like 40% or so. And I'm just gonna like add a little bit of texture over the top like that. And maybe I'll do like a creamier color actually. Something like that. And so you can see now there's like just a little bit of subtle texture over the whole thing. So just go ahead, and I'm doing like little diagonal lines for these. Just adding a little bit of texture. Maybe that one, I'm gonna get a lighter color. That looks a little too dark. So you kind of experiment with your colors. Okay, so just add a little bit of texture to your stamps. And again, we did that on this layer, under the layer mask with the blend mode set to multiply. And then the final step, I just wanna add a little bit of texture to the background. So I'm gonna create a layer and move it under everything else. So tap the plus sign to create a new layer, and then just drag it to the bottom. And then I'm gonna sample my background color. And I'm just gonna choose a slightly lighter version of that color, like that. I'll make my brush size as big as I can. And then I'm just gonna lightly, actually maybe I'll do it at a different angle. Maybe I'll go straight across. I'm just gonna lightly like go back and forth and just add a little bit of texture. It's not over the whole thing. There's even some spots where it's thicker, they're more dense than others, but it's just a good way to add a little bit of texture to your background. And obviously we've got a lot of negative space in this piece, which is all this like empty space, which you could come back and like add some more stamps and fill in those spots. I think that would be a good thing to do, but I just wanted to, for time's sake, wanted to just focus on these three. But there is our final piece. How are we doing in the chat? I want to hear from you guys how you did with that piece. If you have any questions before we wrap things up for today.
That was one heck of a, I mean, that's not a piece, Lisa. That's many pieces.
I know, it is. Like, obviously this was a little bit longer of a lesson. There was a lot of different steps, but I really wanted to show you guys the process from like start to finish of like how to, get inspiration, come up with an idea, research it, come up with sketches. And I did even like a very like shortened version of that. Like, I'll show you this was my original one that I did when I was like planning this lesson, and I did a little, here, I'll show you the sketches first. These are my sketches. Here, even before I did the color palette. So I started with actually California. I was like, but I did some California sketches, like poppies and the beach and the cliffs and the San Francisco and the little dinosaurs in Palm Springs. But I was like, I feel like I always do California stuff. So I wanted to push myself to do something else. And I have been to New York City a long time ago. I want to go again. And so I was like, I'll do New York City. I feel like that's a fun thing to do. And I love it's like all the different like iconic things in New York City. And so I started sketch, like this is my Chrysler building sketch. I did the apple. I even did like I love New York City, and I could have kept going. Like there's my pretzel. I also did the Statue of Liberty, which turned out really, really cute, but I thought might be a little too ambitious to do for today. And this was my original idea for the taxi. I was like, I'll just show a portion of it. And I ended up scrapping that and doing the whole thing, but like really, like this one I was trying to draw it more realistically. And once I started like just doing it really simply, I loved it so much more. So these were my little sketches. And then I went through that same process, of coming up with the colors. So it's pretty much the same color palette that we came up together for the other one. And then I saved that as a palette. And then I created my final piece, which was this one. Let me see if I can show the time lapse. So yeah, this was like before I started doing this, before I knew like what the heck I was going to draw in these stamps. I just started putting some color down, which of course then I changed. And then I actually resketched all my pieces. I didn't like paste in the sketches. I resketched them. So you can see my taxi. I'm going through a lot of different iterations, and I'm like ultimately settled on that. Statue of Liberty, I just pasted that one in. And then I kind of redrew it to kind of refine it a little bit. Same thing over here. And then I started doing the same process that I showed you guys, going through and adding line work, da-da-da. And then I added this one at the last minute because I was like, I didn't do the apple. And I used like the red from the palette and then the same pretzel color as the background. I kind of like the way that one turned out. And then that's the final piece. There's, you can see the other two that we didn't draw today. Any questions?
We don't have any questions popping up.
Cool. All right. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this piece. I had so much fun putting this together. And it was honestly like, I knew we wanted to do postage stamps for this lesson, like since we decided that travel was going to be this month. But it like took me a while to like figure out what the heck to draw in them. So that sometimes can be like the hardest part of the process is like, what do I do? But just like pick something and go with it. Like once I was like New York City, and then it started to flow, So sometimes you just have to like pick it and go for it. And if you decide halfway through you don't like it, you can start over. But like sometimes that process just getting going is what you need to bring a piece to fruition. So I am so excited to see your guys' artwork from these. Like I want to see your NYC stamps, but I also am just like beyond excited to see your own like locations and destinations. Like please go forth and create your own. I think this is a really great way to focus on like simplifying something and like not getting lost in the details because you are working within a small little rectangle. If you were going to draw like an entire page as a stamp, I feel like it would be really easy to get like really caught up in like making everything super detailed. So doing these really like miniature type illustrations is a great way to help you learn to simplify and also stylize too. Like I think I stylized this one. Like I'm really happy with how it came out. The face is super simple, like everything. I just really like the way it came out. So yeah. All right. So can't wait to see your art. Our next live event in the club is going to be on May 25th, and that is going to be an artwork advice session. And so this is where you can submit a piece of your art. You can send me a finished piece, or you can even send the Procreate file, and I will choose a selection of those to give advice about. So when you send your piece, you also talk about, you write up a little bit about what the piece was about and like also what you have questions about or what you want advice about. And then I'll do a selection of those live and go through and critique them. And this is always a really fun thing. Like sometimes I'll like kind of like show you what I might do in Procreate, like redraw something, or I've shown people what I would do with blend modes to add more shading. And it's been really cool to see like the before and after, after they've made the changes based on the advice. So yeah, I definitely go ahead and submit artwork. I think we already have a post up maybe about, yes, I think Sam did that. But if not, we'll make sure to show you where you can go to submit your artwork. And I can't wait. It'll be fun.
And when does the need to be submitted by?
Usually I need like a full day before the event to go through everything. So I would say by the 23rd, and that way I have the 24th to kind of like go through it. But we'll send it. We always send a reminder, like letting you know if it's the last day, but don't wait. If it comes in too close to the event, then I just won't have time to review everything and get prepared and stuff like that. So yeah. Anything else we need to talk about today? I think we're good. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. We will see you at the next live event. Of course, I'll see you in the clubhouse. Can't wait to see your postage stamp creations. And until next time, happy art making, and I will see you in the club. Bye-bye.